Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 142, July the 25th, 2015, Tuesday. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening as always. I was thinking about something this morning. I come on here, every day it seems like. In fact, it is every day. And we talk about these things. It first started out as, talking about the Trump being wiretapped, and of course, didn't take long before we started realizing there was a much bigger operation at play, that being the deep state coup. Now, we use that term a lot, and you're hearing it a lot. It's almost becoming mainstream. And what's kind of funny about that is that, 10 years ago, or even less than that, 5 years ago, prior to Trump's presidency, if you were out doing YouTube videos or talking in the mainstream using this term deep state coup or anything like that, you would be accused of being a tinfoil hat wearing crazy person, a conspiracy theorist, a nut job, a wingnut, whatever. You would be blasted with all these names and all these criticisms for being out there. But I got to tell you, it's absolutely extraordinary. I work in a relatively small office with about a half dozen guys, and they like to keep the radio on, the local talk radio on. And here in Cincinnati, it's WKRC. It can be picked up on 550. There's also a station up like on 1290. It's a Dayton station, and they carry all the typical type conservative talk show hosts. You get like Kilmeade, and then you get Limbaugh, you get Hannity, you get Larry Elder, you get all these people, mostly conservative talk show hosts. But what's extraordinary is I'm just sitting there today doing some paperwork, and I caught the second hour of Limbaugh's monologue, and I caught some of Sean Hannity's monologue. I'm not sure if it was the first or second hour. But what was extraordinary as I was listening to that is that they are using the same exact terminology. Now, I used to listen to Limbaugh back when he first came out, back in the 90s. I'd listen to Limbaugh, but he became too much of a party man for me, and I was never a huge fan of Limbaugh, but he's pretty entertaining. He's very good at what he does. But he was always a party man, He was always, a GOP party guy, He would stick with the party, and he would rarely speak out against the party. He was, Republicans good, Democrats bad sort of thing. But listening to his monologue today, you have Rush Limbaugh, who has 20 to 30 million listeners, and he's talking about the deep state coup. He's talking about the fact that the Republicans, same thing I'm saying here on TowerGate. This is what's extraordinary. Typically, you would only get the type of things that I talk about, and other people on YouTube and things like that talk about. You would only get that on YouTube or alternative media, independent media. You would never hear that on terrestrial radio. You would never hear that coming out of the mouth of a Rush Limbaugh, a Sean Hannity, or a Brian Kilmeade, or a Larry Elder, or any of these people. These are, terrestrial radio, work for big corporations, very closely associated over the years with the Republican Party, and people like that. But to listen to Limbaugh and Hannity both today in their monologues using the term deep state coup, talking about the fact that the Republicans are, just as I say, Limbaugh said this exact same thing I've been saying, almost word for word, that they're either standing down or participating. Either way you look at it, they're participating. And so it's just listening to that as I was sitting there doing my paperwork, it just struck me as how extraordinary that is, because typically using this type of descriptions for the government, the establishment, having this conversation, talking about it, you would never hear that on terrestrial radio. You would never hear that coming out of the mouth of a Limbaugh or a Hannity or anything like that. But it is so bad, and it is so obvious that even these guys are talking about it. And it's hard to criticize Limbaugh and Hannity as being, tinfoil hat wearing, crazy people, because they've built up this credibility and this reputation over many years. Limbaugh has a lot of friends, as does Hannity, who are part of that establishment in a way, and although my guess is that they're distancing themselves away from that, and certainly I imagine these people who would normally associate with them are probably distancing themselves away from them. So it was just caught me kind of funny this morning as I was listening to Limbaugh, and I'm thinking, man, Limbaugh, he must be watching my videos, He must be listening to what I'm saying, but of course he's not. Limbaugh doesn't watch my TowerGate videos. I can assure you of that. But to hear him using the same language and the same terminology, describing exactly what I'm describing here. So the point I'm trying to make here is that what we all see with our very own eyes, what we know to be happening, is in fact real. It's not just in the independent media. It's not just the alternative media. It's not just Alex Jones. It's not just The Seeker. It's not just Styx Hexenhammer. And you even have H.A. Goodman, who's a dyed-in-the-wool liberal, Bernie Sanders supporter. He talks about the deep state coup every day. What's his name who used to be on the Young Turks? I guess he's still on the Young Turks. Jimmy Dore. And Jimmy Dore hates Trump. You have people from all over the political spectrum, not just people on the right or libertarians or not just YouTubers, not just independent media, alternative media. No. You have major players like, Rush Limbaugh, 20 to 30 million listeners, Sean Hannity, 8 to 10 million listeners, up and down the talk radio network dial here in Cincinnati, which is, of course, broadcast all over the country. I'm just hearing it in this city, but you can pick up the same shows. Many of you, I'm sure, listen to some of these shows, and so you know what I'm talking about. This narrative is all over. So it's not like we all don't know that this is happening. It's not like it's a fringe theory. This is a mainstream theory that many people are coming to understand. And I believe it is taking root, because I'm actually having a conversation with my 76-year-old mother and my 94-year-old grandmother, and even my 94-year-old granny, who sits around watching Fox News all day, knows it's a deep state coup. And my mom and my granny were loyal, lifelong Republicans. Go show up to vote party line, write down the ticket. Love the Republicans. Republicans good, Democrats bad. It's the only thing they ever knew. But I'm having a conversation with my 94-year-old granny and my mother, and they're as angry as hell. And even heard my granny use a curse word, and she's a very, very religious woman. I've never heard her use a curse word in my life. And even she's so angry she can't hardly sit in her seat. It's just absolutely amazing. So the bottom line is, we are definitely not alone. We are definitely not on the fringe. We are definitely not tinfoil hat wearing crazy people who are imagining something. Everything is exactly as it looks. And that is basically what I've been able to ascertain. It just kind of blew my mind this morning hearing it come out of the mouth of Rush Limbaugh. I never would have thought in a million years I would hear Rush Limbaugh attacking the rank and file Republicans, talking about them being part of a deep state coup against the president. This is just absolutely extraordinary. And he was even talking about the pros and cons of firing Mueller. So and Hannity has been talking about firing Mueller and how to go about doing that. And he likes Jeff Sessions a lot, and even Limbaugh and Hannity both talking about Sessions may be a perfectly good man, nice man, maybe wants to do good or whatever. But I mean, quite honestly, he had recused himself, shouldn't have done it, but he did, and he's ineffective. He cannot perform the functions of his office. He needs to do the right thing. He needs to resign, not in shame or not because he's a bad guy or anything else, but he made a bad decision. And right now we need some offense, and he is not able. He's the quarterback. He's the guy who has to actually go out there and lead the team down the field, and he's not able. He's stuck on the bench. He's stuck on the bench with a clipboard. He's not on the field to play. He's not in the game. And he can't be in the game because he took himself out of the game. And again, I have, I'm just, this is just my opinion, but it's not just my opinion. It's the opinion of some really heavyweight people, Limbaugh, Hannity, and others all across the radio dial, saying the exact same thing. So we're in we're in company with a lot of heavy players. We're not just out here on the fringe, my friends. There's a lot of other people who are not part of the independent or alternative media, people in the actual mainstream media who are saying the exact same thing. Not just Republican types like a Limbaugh or Hannity. You're hearing it now from even left-wingers, Jimmy Dore, H.A. Goodman. You're hearing it from libertarian types like Styx Hexenhammer. You're hearing it from all sorts of people all over the spectrum who realize how dangerous a situation this actually is. So that is really what's driving today's video. But it's also gave me a thought that, you know, I think at this point things are so bad, and Trump is literally has nobody other than his supporters, all of us. But we don't get a vote in Congress. We can't hold hearings. We can't ask questions, only on our videos. But at this point, I think that we're in a broken arrow situation. You know, and a broken arrow situation, for those of you who are not familiar with that term, that is a term used by the military. It means that you have been completely overrun. The enemy has overrun the perimeter. They're now infiltrating inside your perimeter. And when that happens, you call in airstrikes. You call in for broken arrow. That means that the Air Force is going to come over and they're going to bomb the shit out of you. They're going to bomb everything within the perimeter. That means that they're going to be a lot of deaths from friendly fire, because they're just going to blow everything up. And it's every man for himself. And hopefully you don't get blown up with them. But the enemy has overrun your position. There's no choice. The only way to kill the enemy is to hit your position. And you'll have a lot of people die from friendly fire. That is broken arrow. In other words, you know, it can be a real messy situation. But that's what situation I think we're in now. Because these people are not going to let up. It's clear to me. So I think that what Trump should do is launch a broken arrow campaign. Drop everything you got. Let's just go for it. I mean, we're this far along. You know, if he fires Mueller, you know, all hell breaks loose. If he doesn't fire Mueller, all hell's going to break loose. He's got Sessions sitting there. He can't act. He's got his own party who's participating in the coup. Things are, at this point, at a position where they cannot continue to go in this direction unanswered. We have got to drop some bombs. And Donald Trump, right now, we know from looking at the polls that his supporters are with him. They haven't left him. He still has over 40%, and his base loves him. They understand what is going on. What Donald Trump should do, if I were advising him, I'd say, sir, I'd say you need to now schedule a bunch of rallies. Rally 2 or 3 rallies in every state. Go do 1 or 2 rallies a week. Every week, just like you did during the campaign season. But this time, step up to that podium, look at that audience and tell them that there is currently a deep state coup going on, and that it is being carried out by both the Republicans and the Democrats. Tell them that the Republicans that they've been voting for, that they've put into office, are participating in a deep state coup. Not only that, they're not moving forward with any of the legislative agenda. I would tell them that I would encourage people all over the voting districts across the country to step up and challenge the Republican in their district. And then I would tell them that when 2018 comes around, I'll take a look at all these people who have decided to stand up and challenge the sitting Republican. And I would tell them that I'll take a look at them, and if they look honest, and I think that they could do a pretty good job, whether they come from modest means or whatever their situation may be, if they're decent people and they appear to have a decent background, that I would come out and endorse them over the sitting Republican. I would go out and do these rallies all across the country and encourage people, my Republican base, to challenge their Republican congressmen and senators, to challenge them, primary them in 2018. And if they seem to be good people, I will remember that, and I will give them my endorsement. And I'm talking as if I'm Trump. I'd say, I will endorse you against Paul Ryan. I will endorse you against Mitch McConnell. I will endorse you against Trey Gowdy. Hey, make him sweat. He's produced nothing. Nothing. He talks a lot, produces nothing. We have people like that where I work. We fire them. Where I work, you produce. We track numbers. You produce. You may be a lovely man, a lovely woman. We have numbers. You hit them or you're gone. Period. The Republicans are not performing. They're acting as part of the establishment, the deep state coup. Trump needs to go out and tell his voters, and those in no uncertain terms, pull no punches. Take the gloves off. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, have Trump go out and tell his supporters to challenge the Republicans in primaries in 2018? Man, won't they retaliate against him? Well, hell yeah. But what do you think they're doing now? What could they do possibly that's worse then engage in a deep state coup against him silently. At least let's get it out on the table. Let's make it an open fight. Let's see what happens when he does that. Some of them may back down. Some of them may come to the microphone and go, gosh, I'm sorry that the president feels that way. I mean, I've tried to be supportive. I'll certainly, because you know what? A lot of voters in that district are going to get mighty fired up. And they just might start getting more phone calls, more letters. They might find out that the base is not happy with them participating in a deep state coup against their own president. Turn it into a shitstorm. Broken arrow, broken arrow. Waste it. Waste the whole damn area. And when the smoke clears, my friends, that will be the end of the coup. I can promise you that. And if Trump goes down, or if they try to impeach him, his base will be right there. And if they want this thing to get ugly, it certainly could. I don't think they'll go that far. I think they understand exactly. Because believe me, they do fear an informed public, an informed citizenry, an informed electorate. That's why they lie to us and manipulate us and screw with us. That's why they do it. Believe me, they would be terrified. And that's what Trump should do. Fuck it. Just go take the fight to them. Go out and tell the base, hey, those Republicans you've been voting for, those Republicans we got right now, primary them. They're participating in a deep state coup against me. And that means they're participating in a deep state coup against you. Because you elected me. And I'm trying to do all the things I promised, and they're fighting me every bit of the way. They will not work on my legislative agenda, which is meant to benefit all of you. And in fact, they're working right now along with the Democrats, the intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, and the federal government, part of the deep state, and all their globalist friends to destroy my presidency, take me down, and take the country down with them. They want to have that kind of a fight. Let's do it. That's my recommendation to what I would tell President Trump. Get those rallies going. And this time, instead of just going out there and talking about things that you normally talk about at the rally, tell the people what's going on. I think most of them know. Get them motivated. Get them energized. Let's primary every damn Republican in the country. Every single one of these guys in the House are up for re-election. Every one. Every 2 years. In the Senate, it's only every 6 years. But I do believe that there's about 15 senators who are up for re-election. Let's primary every damn one of them and beat every damn one of them. And if you're one of those people who decide to primary the Republican congressman or senator in your district, all you have to do to go out and get elected once Donald Trump comes out and does this series of rallies is go up to the podium and say, yes, I'm running to challenge Paul Ryan or whoever your congressman Republican is. I'm running so that I can stop the deep state coup, so that I can support the president and his agenda and stop what is going on and throw this crooked criminal who's been lying to you for years out of business. Remember he told you he wanted to repeal and replace Obamacare? What's he doing? None of it. Remember the big plans for tax reform? None of it. Remember the wall? None of it. Remember anything having to do with the immigration? If Trump wouldn't have done it through executive order, it wouldn't be happening. And we saw that when Bush was president. They cowered when Bush was president. Playing these games with us. I'm sick of it. It's time for Donald Trump to take his case directly to his supporters, which have his back. It's time to primary every damn Republican in the country. It's time to beat them. It's time to throw them out. They're disgusting. They're traitors. Okay, now that I got that rant out of the way, let's cover some TowerGate news today. Of course, I'm sure all of you know that Jared Kushner did his testimony today. He'll be testifying again tomorrow. He released a statement. I read it. He also did he did a written statement and he did a public speaking statement. He'll be answering questions in front of Congress. The guy's clean. There ain't nothing there. There never was anything there. Just like with Flynn. Remember Michael Flynn? Heard anything about him lately? Of course not. You know why? Because the FBI quietly dropped the charges against him. Shh. Nobody's supposed to know. The Democrats stopped talking about him. The FBI dropped the charges. Nothing about Michael Flynn. Because they ran it as far as they could run it. And when the rubber hit the road to either prove what's true or not true, they realized there was no case. And so rather than have to sit through the embarrassment of having him prove that there was no case, they just said, okay, we're just going to let it go. But now they've already practically destroyed the man's life. And they got 3 or 4 months of propaganda out of it. This is exactly what they'll do to Mr. Kushner. It's what they're going to do to Manafort. This is what they're going to do. When they're done with that, they'll move on to somebody else. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. Today, Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity, VIP, sent a very detailed letter, which I read, to Donald Trump, pointing out that the new forensic analysis proved that the DNC hack was not a hack, in fact, but a leak, and it was done locally within the global network. Global meaning within the DNC, the building of the Democratic National Committee, right within the building. So they have taken what we learned from the Forensicator and another dozen or so analysts, including one analyst who's an IBM high-level tech for IBM, who's done his own analysis of the GBP van file. He's looked at it and he's found the same thing as the Forensicator, that the DNC hack could not have been done by the Russians or any foreign entity, unless there were Russians inside the closet at the telecommunications room at the DNC. Do you think that Vladimir Putin was in the janitor's closet, hiding out, crossing some wires? I don't think so. No, I think it was Seth Rich. Seth Rich leaked those documents to WikiLeaks. The Russian narrative is a lie. The Veteran for Intelligence Professionals for Sanity have sent Trump a letter laying it all out. I read the letter. It's very well done, very well written, and these are some very credible people who are part of this organization. I read quite a bit of their stuff on Information Clearinghouse on a regular basis. Next up, Chuck Grassley, head of this is being reported by the Daily Caller, an excellent journalist by the name of Chuck Ross. Love Chuck. He does a fantastic job. He's reporting that Chuck Grassley, head of the State Judiciary Committee, has sent a letter to Rod Rosenstein, the acting FBI director, to see if the DNC violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act, FARA, F-A-R-A, by working with the Ukrainian government officials to undermine President Trump's campaign last year. Do you think that Mr. Rosenstein is going to be looking into that? Do you think that Mr. Mueller and his posse will be looking into that? Do you believe that the Pitbull, Trey Gowdy, will be looking into that? They'll talk about it. They'll hem-haw about it. They'll go on a TV show and say, oh, that's some bad stuff, yeah, some people are definitely going to jail. Bullshit. Hopefully Chuck Grassley will stay on this, but don't expect much from Rod Rosenstein. We know what team he's playing on, but just the fact that Grassley sent the letter telling Rosenstein that he needs to look into what went on with the DNC. Remember, they paid Mrs. Chalupa. She actually did produce documents from the Ukrainian government, the intelligence agencies, and some members of the press. I reported this to you about a week and a half ago. Next up, also from the Daily Caller, we have FBI agents over the weekend seized smashed computer hard drives from the home of Florida Democratic Rep. Debbie Blabbermouth Watchman Schultz's IT tech administrator, Imran Iwan. We know the Iwan brothers, the Pakistanis who were paid over $4 million to do IT services for the DNC, hired by Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 2005. Now, we all know that Debbie Wasserman Schultz recently threatened on camera the head of the DC Metro Police, who had confiscated some devices. But now it looks like they've gone to the home of Mr. Iwan, who was renting that property, and it was actually the renter who called. He called the cops. He called the Navy intelligence. He's in the Navy. So is his wife. He's renting Iwan's house because Iwan, I guess, went back to Pakistan with his family, started renting his property. This guy moves into his property and he sees all these crunched hard drives and stuff in his garage. Dozens and dozens of them. He thinks it's kind of suspicious. He knows who these people are. He calls them up. They call the cops. And the cops come over and start taking all this stuff out. What's extraordinary about this whole thing is that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, even though they know that the Iwan brothers are part of a criminal investigation and they're up to their eyeballs in wrongdoing, Debbie Wasserman Schultz not only refuses to fire Iwan, but she is actually defending and protecting them. She also has got a lawyer who's using legal maneuvers to try to get this equipment back. In the meantime, according to the Washington Metro Police Department, or the Capitol Hill Police, I believe it's actually the Capitol Hill Police that's actually working this case, according to them, because of some motion that Wasserman Schultz's lawyer has filed, it's preventing them from going ahead and doing a forensic analysis of the data on these hard drives. They're not able to look at it. They've confiscated this stuff, but they can't actually go in and look at it because of some motion that's been filed by Debbie Wasserman Schultz's attorneys. So what do you think is going on here? What is Debbie Wasserman Schultz afraid of? If these guys are involved in criminal activity, why doesn't she want them investigated? If they possibly leaked stuff from the DNC, why doesn't she want that investigated and found out? Why is she protecting the Iwan brothers? Why is she trying to get the stuff that they committed crimes with back in her possession, which she says belongs to her, because they paid for it? Doesn't matter if you paid for it, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I could go out and buy a shovel. If that shovel is used in the commission of a crime, it becomes part of the crime. It becomes part of the evidence. Guess what? You ain't getting your damn shovel back. Have you ever had your house broken into? My parents did. They had a bunch of stuff ripped off along with all the neighbors on the street. They were called to come down and identify their stuff. They did. They thought they were going to be coming home with it. They were said, no, you can't take the stuff home because now it's all evidence. It's going to stay in the evidence room until this case is through. About a year and a half later, they were told they could come and get their stuff back, half of which was missing when they got there. My guess is a couple of cops got some new jewelry, got some new watches, got some silver and gold coins. You know what I mean. You know the game. So why is Debbie Wasserman Schultz threatening the Capitol Hill Police? Why is she filing legal motions to keep them from looking at the data on those devices? Why is Debbie Wasserman Schultz protecting the Iwan brothers? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible that the Iwan brothers have some information that could be damaging to Debbie Wasserman Schultz? And they're telling her, hey, if you don't cover for us, if you don't protect us, we're going to drop what we've got. Do you think that they're using this technique against Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Do you think she's being played by the Iwan brothers? There's some reason why she's defending these guys. Hasn't even fired them. Boy, there's something stinks about this. But then again, doesn't everything stink around Debbie Wasserman Schultz? The woman is like a walking, silent but deadly fart that never goes away. Former CIA Director Brennan, along with Clapper, appeared on CNN with Wolf Blitzer. And Brennan literally called for a coup. He says if Trump fires Mueller, then all the people around Trump, the Republican Democrats, they should get together and force him out. Yes, a coup. They should perform a coup. If Trump fires Mueller, they should have a coup via John Brennan. So John Brennan participates as Hillary's right-hand man as head of the CIA in a deep state coup, not to mention he was part of the dossier, he was part of the surveillance, the FISA warrants, the whole 9 yards, part of the entire criminal gang, yet he's saying that if Trump fires Mueller, there should be a coup pulled off against him. That's just absolutely amazing. That's just absolutely, it's almost like living in a parallel universe. Also, Clapper said in that interview that Trump had asked him at some point to come out and just debunk the dossier. Just come out and say, hey, the dossier is false, it's fraudulent, it's not real, it's a bunch of crap. Clapper stated he refused. So we got John Brennan on CNN talking to Wolf Blitzer, calling for a coup if Trump fires Mueller, and we have Clapper saying that he refused to debunk the dossier, even though we know it's garbage. We even have Dennis Kucinich, who's, most of you know, if you know of Dennis Kucinich, he's a very left-wing liberal. He's an honest liberal, but he's a liberal. I kind of like Dennis Kucinich. I agreed with him on foreign policy issues. I agreed with him on some issues, but mostly tax issues, big government issues. I would disagree with Kucinich. But he is an honest dude. Of course, as you know, the Democrats used voter redistricting, the redistricting, drawing up new voter districts to force Kucinich out because he primaried Obama. And they used gerrymandering of voting districts to eliminate his voting district. Hey, they can't force you out because you're too popular with your voters? People like you too much? Hey, they just redraw the voting districts so that you don't even have a voting district anymore. How about that? That's a deep state for you. Dennis Kucinich, quote, deep state trying to destroy Trump. Boom. What more do you need, man? It's time for Trump to hit the campaign trail. It's time to start the rallies. He needs to go directly out and tell people exactly to their face there is a deep state coup underway. The Republicans you've been voting for all those years have been lying to you, which should be obvious to you now. I urge all of you to primary your Republican opponents, and I will endorse you as long as you're sane, as long as you have a decent background, as long as you seem competent to do the job. I will endorse you. We need to clean the house. Don't even worry about Democrats. Screw Democrats. I don't care about Democrats. They do what Democrats do. My anger is with the Republicans. They're disgusting. I have several of them here. I just want to strangle them. I mean, it's like Warren Davidson, my congressman. I don't hear a peep out of him. Not a single peep. I never hear him defending the president. The only time I hear from him is when it's time for him to get elected. He sends me some color brochures, want me to donate money to him because he's fighting for me. This is just ridiculous. Then we got the guy who came right out of the Bush stable, who was in the House for many years. Now he's a senator, Rob Portman. He's a slime ball. If you're watching my video and you go out and you vote for Rob Portman again for senator, and I don't know when he's up again. He may not be up this particular time around. But if you go out and vote for Rob Portman, you should just slash your own throat. You really should. You should go jump in front of a truck. Get it over with. Just get it over with. Why drag out the misery? But this is what's happening today, my friends. TowerGate, day 142, July the 25th, 2015, Tuesday. The deep state coup is moving forward. It's time to call Broken Arrow. That's my thoughts for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all the comments, thumbs up, sharing the videos. I'll be back with you again tomorrow. We'll find out what happens next. My goodness. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good night.